Hello, I'm Pat Carlson and I live at Ridgehaven. Today I'm going to talk about my teenage days. At the age of 12, I was now in the senior classroom with Sister Augustine, old enough to help with additional jobs and extra responsibilities. The sisters depended on the older girls to relieve the pressure on them and assist in making the orphanage run smoother. The extra duties included helping with looking after the babies, washing, ironing, mending clothes, cleaning the church and arranging flowers, and assisting with food preparation. One day when Brenda and I reported to Sister Josephine in the sewing room after school, we were confronted with a huge pile of navy blue fabric that felt like very fine silk. Sister Josephine smiled when she saw the puzzled look on our faces and told us that they were parachutes. "What on earth are we going to do with parachutes?" Brenda asked. The only time we had ever seen parachutes was during the war, and I was feeling somewhat poorly, imagining we were going to be asked to jump out of an aeroplane. "Well, we're going to undo all the seams and we're going to make dresses out of the fabric," Sister Josephine replied. I breathed a sigh of relief, and looking at the piles again, I whispered to Brenda, "This is going to take forever." Mavis Downing and Joan Brown arrived to help. It seemed Sister Augustine had pulled a fast one, telling them that there was an important job to be done and they had been selected, making them feel really special. We set to work pulling the seams apart, usually chatting away and sometimes singing to help pass the time, performing an incredible boring job, being encouraged by Sister Josephine with a promise that we would be able to use the sewing machines to help make the dresses. Joan and I, the least experienced of us, were allocated the job of sewing the straight seams. Sister Josephine carried out the gathering of the sleeves and the skirts, while Brenda and Mavis put them together. Each of the dresses were trimmed with colourful bias binding to brighten them up. All in all, we were quite a healthy bunch, but as with any group of children, it is inevitable that germs were quick to spread throughout the orphanage, as it was when we all went down with a stomach bug, giving us diarrhoea. Naturally, there was pandemonium in the toilet blocks, and after spending some time in the lavatory one night, I was horrified to see a lot of blood in the pan. I was so embarrassed I quietly got back to bed and tried to sleep. Alas, when morning came, my sheets were covered in blood, which I quickly covered, and later that day in the classroom, I confided in Annie Pascoe, who was a year older than me, whom I thought would know what to do. She said to me, "Oh, you've got your pyramids. You have to go and tell Sister." With that, I gingerly approached Sister Augustine at her desk and told her, "I've got my pyramids." I was surprised to see her smile and then let out a little giggle. "Come with me," she said. "Sister Josephine will need to know." By this time I was feeling self-conscious and following her into the sewing room. "Tell Sister Josephine what you told me, Paddy." This time I blurted, "I've got my pyramids," looking at the floor. And with that, Sister Augustine, Sister Josephine and the two girls all burst out laughing. Seeing the puzzled look on my face, Sister Josephine apologised and explained that it was my period, not my pyramid. And this happens to all young teenage girls each month, reassuring me there was nothing to worry about, instructed Mavis to take a bundle of usefuls from the cupboard, take me upstairs and show me how to use them. Feeling rather relieved that I didn't have some terrible disease, I chatted to Mavis on the way up to the lavatory block, trying to find out why only teenage girls got the monthly bleeding. But she was tight-lipped and only said, "Be quiet, it's a secret." The usefuls were made of double flannelette fabric, approximately 12 inches square with 2 loops. They were folded in 3 to make a pad of 6 layers and were fitted to a belt around the waist. I was now classed a senior and treated with consideration, especially when we had physical education. A few weeks later, I was called into the hall along with a group of 7 or 8 of us girls, teenage girls, and were told that Father Phelan wanted to talk to us individually and to wait outside the parlour. Brenda was called in first, and we and we chatted away, trying to be upbeat about what was in store for us, when Brenda came out and looked with a look of horror on her face. "Don't ask me, oh my God," she said, "I'm never going to get married." As she quickly disappeared across the hall, I took a huge step backwards, hoping I wouldn't be called next, but "Okay, Patty, it's your turn," Sister Jude said. Noticing my reluctance, gave me a little push through the door. Father Phelan stood at the end of a 10-foot long table. I was to go to the other end. He had a chart each side of him showing a female and a male. He proceeded to tell me how babies were born and was warned it only happened when you got married.